Protocols for Nutrition and Fitness for Women. This is a summary of Huberman's talk with Dr. Sims. If you're in your 20s to mid-40s, it's a great time to build your foundation of resistance training. You need to lift heavy weights and do sets to failure, which means selecting a weight that's heavy enough that you struggle to complete the last reps. Focus on compound movements like squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, rows, and overhead presses. Do strength training 3 to 4 times a week, each time 45 to 60 minutes. Also, you need to do a sprint interval training at the end of resistance training sessions or do 1 to 2 intensity interval training sessions on other days. In a minute, I will go over how to do these interval trainings to get the best out of it. For women in their mid-40s to early 50s, it is the chance before menopause and the best time to prepare by strength training. The transition to menopause causes a long range of issues like brain fog, increased body fat, weight gain, loss of muscle, and loss of bone density. So women in their 40s should be strategic with their training. Resistance training and true high-intensity work help with metabolic control and insulin sensitivity. Together, they help manage weight gain and reduce cortisol. Some of you may like cardio, like biking or jogging, and this is fine for mental health, but it's not optimal for you. You need strength training, especially lifting heavier weights with fewer repetitions. Having 1 to 2 reps in reserve is a good approach. If someone completes 8 reps with 2 reps in reserve, it means they could still do 2 more reps with proper form before failure. If you are new to resistance training, spend 2 weeks to 4 months learning proper movement patterns to avoid injury. Then aim for a minimum of 3 resistance training sessions per week. And you want to aim for compound movements. And then either 1 to 2 sprint interval sessions or HIIT sessions per week. For your 50s and above, the workout is similar to what we said for your 40s, plus jump training 3 times a week for 10 minutes. This is needed for improving bone density. By the way, I have made more videos summarizing Huberman Lab Podcast. If you find this helpful, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. The best way to do HIIT for women. High-intensity interval training or HIIT can be done by running, cycling, or with weights in the gym. If you choose to do it by running, you would run 400 meters sprint at 80% effort or more, which takes maybe 1 to 4 minutes. Then rest as much as you need to recover and repeat this until you're gassed out or up to 30 to 40 minutes. In a gym, a HIIT session looks like this. Choose 4 heavy exercises like deadlifts, thrusters, squats, and kettlebell swings. Each exercise is done 50 seconds, followed by 10 seconds to transition to the next exercise. Finishing one round of these 4 exercises will take 4 minutes, then take 1 minute of rest. Repeat this 3 times. This is high-intensity interval training and not a substitute for resistance training. The aim here is to increase cardiovascular fitness and not building muscle. That would need a separate session. For sprint interval training, a sprint at maximum effort for 30 seconds, then rest for a few minutes, or you can walk for 5 minutes. Then do this 3 to 4 times. One note here is that your training may need adjustment based on your menstrual cycle. The first half of the cycle is optimal for heavy lifting and high-intensity work because of better stress management and recovery capacity. However, during the luteal phase, the baseline stress is increased and progesterone levels are rising, so you may need more carbs and protein. Tracking helps you figure out your own unique needs. During training, one way to understand your body's signal and decide whether to continue or modify a workout is the 10-minute rule. If after 10 minutes of activity you still feel fatigued, switch to a less intense activity or focus on recovery. It's a myth that high intensity or resistance training causes women to lose their menstrual cycle. stop counting calories, and start eating for the task at hand. If you eat enough, your menstrual cycle will continue. One thing you also need to know is that oral contraceptives reduce VO2 max, which is your maximal aerobic capacity. They can also make you more fearful and less willing to take chances in life. Female athletes often use IUDs because it causes less oxidative stress and mood issues compared to oral contraceptives, and provides fit and forget solution for up to 3 to 5 years. Let's talk about fasting, protein, and supplements. Dr. Sims mentioned for women, especially for active women, fasting can be harmful. Avoid prolonged fasting, low-calorie diets, or doing workouts on an empty stomach. This can disrupt hormone balance, raise cortisol levels, and cause thyroid and metabolic issues. Women who eat earlier in the day and finish eating by early evening have better metabolic outcomes. However, fasting might be helpful to women with PCOS. Overall, women do better with eating before their workout. Take 15 grams of protein before resistance training, and for cardiovascular workout, eat also 30 grams of carbs up to an hour earlier. For post-workout, women in their 20s to 40s need 35 grams of protein within 45 minutes of finishing the workout to stimulate repair and muscle growth. And women over 50 need 40 to 60 grams. As we age, the body's ability to metabolize protein reduces, so we need to take in more protein. Make sure your iron levels are sufficient, and if you need to take iron supplementation, then start on the first day of your period, taking it every other day for 10 days. Iron absorption is lower on the other days of your cycle. 2,000 units of vitamin D is important for brain, muscle health, and maintaining iron stores. Creatine, 3 to 5 grams daily, is also beneficial for women. Get your creatine from companies that use water-based wash to avoid side effects. Also, protein powders is a good choice as it can be challenging to get enough protein through food alone. Also be aware that herbs like ashwagandha that are taken to reduce stress should not be used continuously for a long term. Sims also suggests that Shisandra is a great option for focus, for enhancing cognitive functions, and managing stress, as it regulates dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol levels. However, similar to ashwagandha, if you want to take it, you need to take a break time to time. You cannot be on it for long term. Also, know that the goal is not to get rid of all cortisol. It is healthy and natural for cortisol to peak in the morning and be lower in the evening. Now, let's talk about cold and heat exposure. Dr. Sims mentioned that for women, heat exposure in a traditional sauna is better than the cold exposure. Infrared saunas only heat the skin and not core, so traditional saunas are better. If women still want to do cold exposure, a water temperature of 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 12 degrees Celsius, is enough to get the benefits. But for men, it needs to be colder. Cold exposure can help manage endometriosis, and for that is done for 10 days around ovulation and over 3 menstrual cycles. This sounds counterintuitive, but for managing hot flashes and night sweats, sauna is recommended. Post-training for up to 30 minutes in a sauna is also great for extending the training stimulus for women. But remember that it is important to hydrate slowly after sauna. Also, if you're pregnant, avoid cold exposure or extreme heat. Avoid high-intensity training and don't try to make gains. Keep the focus on maintaining fitness and enjoying the social aspect of exercise. For women at high risk of miscarriage, stressful activities in the first 12 to 20 weeks should be avoided. And of course, always consult with your own doctor. If this was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and I see you in the next one.